All right, thank you.
Okay. So we'll move down then to the next item on the agenda, which is the Alliances Manager position description.
Sandy, I guess before we move on to that, I wanted to check, was there anything out of the breakout session that we should note? Was there any questions or feedback? Or was it more of an internal stuff that you guys discussed?
We are solid with the use of surveys.
Okay.
To
Okay.
move some of the smaller work forward, so that the surveys are good. And then just as a point of reference, we feel like we're very well represented in regards to the AIAN success plan, that we don't need to have a separate workout group or breakout group to work on that plan. And we are relying upon the expertise of some of our members here that are in the RUO work to look and review and keep us apprised of anything that we should be concerned about. So we're good there. And those were the two big things that came out of it. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'll share my screen now, right, Jonas? You don't have
Yep.
to do that. I'm going to pull up the position description so we can review, and I can go over the changes with you all that we made to this. Okay. So we'll have about 20 minutes to spend on this. I don't think it may take that long, but if it does, great. And we have a couple questions framing here that we'll walk through, and just sort of, we can popcorn discussion or however you all want to approach that. But here is the position description. I'm going to go over this pretty quickly, but I'll be reading out loud to you and pausing for reflections, comments, feedback. If you are curious to have a copy of this, I'm happy to send this out right after our meeting today, so you can digest it even further, and let you know for sensitive eyes that the changes are made in red. And I really do apologize for that. We'll work to find a more kind color for updating this, because it is really bright and can be hard to see at times depending on your screen brightness. So we just changed the title of it. So previously, as you know, it was called I think it was called Tribal Affairs Manager. We're really explicitly calling this the Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance Manager. And then we go through a job description summary, which nothing really changed in the kind of program purpose and who's affected and size and scope, because that's all in relationship to the ELD agency mission there. But what's added is some information about the role and the responsibility of this OTELA manager. So we have it written here that the manager is responsible for the development and implementation of the OTELA organization. This manager works to help ensure organizational and programmatic expansion through legislative development, staffing, and operational management of the entity. This manager will work closely with Tribal Affairs Director, the Early Learning Systems Director, and other key ELD staff on identifying areas for improvement within ELD's policies, programs, and approaches to support the overarching goals of OTELA and eliminate barriers that prevent tribal nations from enacting their sovereignty. I'm going to pause because that was a big mouthful. In hearing that, do we have any initial reflections or thoughts?
I like the line about the last line, eliminate barriers that prevent tribal nations from enacting their sovereignty. I think that's a pretty respectful line to put in there in regards to the tribes. I don't know how other people feel about that.
Great, thank you for the feedback. I'll move down, but feel free to put any thoughts in the chat if we're moving a little too quickly and interrupt me. This section, as you saw in the previous development of this job description, a lot of the responsibilities of the manager role in tribal affairs correlated to my role now in my new role as director. Because this job was my old job, and then it just kind of grew and became a director position, and then we were that funding for the two other positions, right? So we did, with feedback that we received from you all, and kind of walking through the direction of where the work's going, we retitled this first duty, or I guess area, as management of Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance. But really, I think now that I'm looking at it and saying it out loud, I want to say co-management, right? But anyhow, this will be 35% in helping to oversee like management of the Otella organization, and hoping, right, that this happens in alignment with policies, procedures, and protocols that are support and affirm our commitment as an agency to the government consultation and mutual partnership with each of the tribal nations in Oregon. This position will help to define and establish governance associated with the functions and operations of the Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance. And that is happening, right, with first and foremost creating an Otella management team, which will include the Otella Governance Board. And I did a little bit of reading, and I know I have some catching up still to do, but as I understand it, the TAC will transition into a governance board of sorts, and then you all decided that you wanted that to be open to basically just like tribal members as well, and people, represented on that governance board, right? Is that accurate, I guess?
Say that again.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean.
Oh, okay. I read in some notes that our director shared while I was out that the TAC has talked a little bit about like TAC transit, like what the transition would look like if, right, Otella is becoming this entity, that it's a transition to a governance board.
That's
and that
correct.
it would be tribally appointed as well, in a similar way that it is, you guys are appointed, I guess, is what I understand.
Right, yes, it would just be a transition from this TAC to the actual governance board. That's what we decided.
That's what you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that new information for anyone? Sorry if we weren't recapping that well in meeting minutes too.
Yeah, I think we got a little confused at the end because we didn't open it up. The governance group is not open up to just anybody, any tribal members or anybody. You still have to be appointed by your tribe.
Okay, I will note that and make sure that I put that in the notes that I was reading.
Okay.
So thank you for
And
clarifying.
I think that came about because we have a lot of tribal members that do really, really good work from our tribes in different things, but they don't speak for their tribe.
Right.
And so we wanted that distinction.
Perfect. Thank you. So this this management team, which will include that governance board and then the key identified ELD staff, will work to develop and implement a process for the management team to identify and eliminate barriers within the early learning system. This manager role will help to assist in the recruitment and attainment of future Atella staff and assist with training and providing guidance to Atella staff in a day-to-day basis, helping to write policies and procedures that support the goals of Otella and ensure that they're based in tribal early learning best practices. And then we added that it would be important to develop also tribally centered approaches to ongoing funding of Otella itself, right? Because we've had a lot of hiccups, I know, in our grant processes, in our, our intergovernmental agreements, or interagency agreement processes that have been difficult to navigate in the past. And so if there's a way that we could actually ensure that our funding is flexible and that it's coming from a tribal centered approach, which means we're looking at each individual tribe and understanding your specific needs and what you've asked us to do and what you tell us what is needed and in support of early learning efforts in your communities, that we'd have a way to get that funding to you in the way that can be most impactful. And so it's just so that's kind of the responsibilities of that first part of this position. And I want to pause here for any reflections, questions, need for clarity, or comments. Oh, I should also note that the highlighted portion is something that is just a note for you because the responsibilities previously exact matched what was included in like my job description, my new role as a tribal affairs director. So we're just noting that and having, some notes in there about the intention of this part of the position and what the focus will be based on some feedback that we've received from the TAC. But it's just there as a note. We'll be deleting that portion once this position description gets finalized, obviously.
So we're really regarding this position as more of the boots on the ground work with the tribes, right?
Yeah. And so you'll see later too in this that it's not in place of like our director at all, or like we took out, right, the direct role in consultative government to government, because you all were like, that shouldn't be there because it really should live with the agency director, and we totally agree. So this is really just like helping to operationalize all that, going forward once we also like investigate and research how is this entity going to come into fruition, because we're still looking at, right, some options here as we've discussed previously with like a 501(c) and so forth. So, and developing a potential fund, right, at the state level as well for this work. I'll move forward, but please.
Valeria, I have a question just for my
Yeah.
own like tracking purposes. In there's in the position description, there's a bullet on developing the process for helping eliminate barriers. I know the TAC has discussed that a couple of times and trying to come up with that process. I'm just wondering if that will actually fall under the responsibility of the Otella manager once they're hired, or is that still something the TAC will continue to, I guess, develop themselves, which is just the barrier process itself?
So this is why we specifically say like, um, you know, we call out Otella management team here because I think that it's a both and in
Okay.
my kind of thinking, and please chime in, tribal advisory committee. I think that, if you all develop something that you're like, yeah, we want to be looking at barriers through this approach, right? A framework or something. And this is how we want to get at the root of it and figure out how we can actually like change or apply, small changes or goals that will eventually eliminate that barrier for tribes. I think that that's always going to be something that needs to be reevaluated and looked at, and that will definitely be part of the governance board to make sure that that's going well, right? The implementation of looking at barriers and actually addressing them in the work and finding pathways and solutions to problems of practice. That will be, what the board will oversee as well.
Yeah, I was just curious because that the barriers process has kind of been on my kind of like my tracker, I guess, so to speak, of topics for the TAC to kind of discuss and finalize. And I just curious if that's because if I should leave it on this tracker of mine or kind of put it on the back burner for now until like the Otella manager is
No,
hired.
we're not waiting. Thank you, Jonas, for clarifying. I don't think we're waiting for the telemanager yet. Like
Okay.
you all starting, you're already doing this, right? You're identifying how you want to approach it. So I think that when this manager comes into the role, it's really like they're going to join that development. So it's not that they're going to develop their own process or anything like that.
Right.
So it's just a
Well,
continuation of the
I
work.
just
Okay.
okay. I'll
I
continue to
foresee
leave
this
it.
manager then doing the research to find out what, ORS or OAS hang up we're going to have if we're trying to eliminate a barrier, right?
Yes.
I feel like it's the group will say, yeah, we really need to look at this barrier of square footage for each child, right? And then we would turn to the manager and say, so what are the constraints around that? What's the legalese around that? That's kind of how I saw that playing out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking for the whole group. So if anybody's got a different take on that, you should pipe up now.
Okay, just checking here to see if there's any comments or anything. Yeah, and this definitely like this is all things that can be changed as we move forward, right? And the work continues to transform. I think that it's there's a lot that we're hoping for, and then at the same time, those plans may change, and we may see this play out, differently, and we may say, oh, we didn't think of this, or we want to add this. So I'm going to move forward, but please continue to kind of like think about this, and we don't have very much left. So, and I know we're like getting close to that. Where are we at with time, Gabby? Or someone?
No, you're fine. I think you're still within the time frame.
Okay, good. This previously just said legislative coordination, or maybe ELD legislative coordination actually. And it just says Otella. So it's just specific to Otella, but we do anticipate the same kind of activities with the legislative coordination piece of this position. So continuing to support legislative visits and other government relations, contribute to bill analysis, testify before legislative committees, help research and prepare background information on legislation. The only thing new that's added is the develop Otella legislative concepts and ongoing funding to support the objectives of Otella. And it's left there as a general because we know that when this when this entity comes into fruition, that we do want more funding. We do want to seek out what opportunities are out there for us to potentially change, even if, like was brought up a little bit ago by Sandy, some rules that are specifically applied to tribal programs, through the lens of ensuring, that we are supporting that tribal sovereignty piece. And then we have some program communications and coordination. So working with Otella management team and the ELD staff, including the Tribal Affairs Director and Early Learning Systems Director, to evaluate and the current and ongoing status of ELD program implementation. So that's looking at ELD's programs themselves, or services and clusters that we have at the state, like your baby promise, your preschool promise, your CCDF, and so forth, to ensure, right, that there's a consideration and a lens there for how these programs impact or interact with our tribal nations. And then part of this coordination will be to ensure that this manager needs to ensure that they research and maintain a working knowledge of tribal specific issues in early care and education. So doing a lot of listening with our tribal nations and with you all, and then including on what is working well and where remain the areas for growth. This manager will help to develop and maintain communications to share with internal ELD staff and external audiences as needed. This could include posts to like the website that we're hoping to develop with Otella and so forth. So it's pretty general communications in terms of that. This manager will help to collaborate with our tribal nations to provide opportunities for networking between tribal early care and education professionals. And so that will be something that I think you guys kind of talked about, right? Hoping to have like this organization really help with networking between tribes and bringing together like early care and tribal early care and education professionals. So that's why this is here. It's part of that coordination piece. And then they'll help to identify, establish, and maintain a way for Otella and other community partners to come together annually, biannually, to learn, maybe spotlight tribal program work and create connection across systems. And that can come in many forms as well. It doesn't need to be like an in-person gathering, but it could be something that Otella sees as being, maybe the governance board is directing something that's a real issue coming up in the work, or something that they really want, early educators across Oregon to know. And there may be work, right, that we know is happening down the line that we want to share out in ways. And so that's there just to create more connection, right, and more opportunities. And then this position will work with partners within the professional learning team and broader system to align training and certification efforts in Oregon and nationally, including planning and facilitating work groups. And this is mainly with like our community systems team here at ELD, as you know, like, and also with things that are being discussed, even with the Educator Advancement Council, and like having specific certificates that are geared towards Indigenous teachers, and helping to get, recognize Indigenous ways of knowing, and including that as, education and training that can be applied to like our, Oro system, our academic, sort of I want to say, what is that word? I keep thinking of it, but it's called Spark. It's our quality improvement system, and so forth. So it's like recognizing that we're ensuring that there's other ways to look at, training and learning and making sure that we're inclusive as well of what tribes are already doing. Can I pause here? Because I think I went over 2 sections.
You have
Any questions?
probably about 3 more
comments?
minutes, Valeria.
Okay, thank you.
How are we feeling about this so far, guys?
Is there
Any-
anything in here that you're like, that's not needed, or that's an overstep, or I don't feel comfortable with that? I'd love to hear anything like that as well. Oops, sorry, mine's a touch screen, so.
Okay, not hearing any.
And then the last section is just special projects to support Otella. So we know that there may be some projects that, naturally develop in community or initiatives that you all want to take advantage of or bring forth. And so we left some percentage to help with that and to help our tribes, lift up their own work and tell their stories. So I think that's really going to be a fun part of this position for the role, but we're hoping they'll help lead the project development and implementation in partnership with Otella management team and any identified ELD staff regarding programs and clusters, but this could include future programs and clusters of even Otella, right? And then ensuring that they will seek tribal feedback on project work. They will obtain necessary approvals for projects. They'll verify quality of project deliverables with the Otella management team, any colleagues and contractors. And then this last bullet, or last 2, excuse me, were part of the original, which are to make recommendations about project budgets or spending plans, helping monitor and track project development, and identify any potential risks within this projects for effectiveness of program partnership with tribes, and suggest ways to help mitigate, prevent, or develop those contractor statements of work.
I see we have the obligatory all other duties as assigned.
Yeah. And that's actually, I think it's really good to have, because we know that this work has already transformed so much from the original meetings when we were like, what is the tribal early learning hub, right? And now it's coming into its own space, its own, organization. And I love that. We did add a couple things I did for this piece. We talked about making sure that we interpret any legislation impacting tribal communities into the program goals, actions, and plans for supporting work with the Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance and nations. And then we had this part here, the learn and apply knowledge and skills to interrupt systemic oppression. And I added, and interrupt the reproduction of colonization. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think that that's for me, a real piece of the work that, because we're not just interrupting. We want to not reproduce. that colonization and that, oppression. And and then I actually put this in blue because I'm not sure what it means. And so I'm going to get an answer and I will communicate that back to the TAC so that you guys know. I don't think Alyssa's back, right? Okay. All right. Anyhow.
No, I don't. She's not. I don't see her.
And yeah, she may have been able to answer this right on the spot, but anyhow, and then we did put in here, even though this person, they don't have like, we took out some of the the government to government piece as requested. We do think still having knowledge of that and applying any tools that are at their disposal or their position level within like government to government's consultative approach is still needed, and that they should be well versed in like tribal best practices to do this work. It's hybrid with the telecommuting and in-office position. It will include travel and potential for travel out of state. Not likely, but you never know, for conferences, trainings, or gatherings that we know other folks hold, like our federal partners, or even Native-based organizations. We don't have a lot of federal laws or regulations policies under here quite yet, but we are definitely putting, we'll be adding like any of the relevant policies and laws that we know exist around, like we have here already, the Respect Act, and then some of Oregon's rules around ensuring that there's true consultation practices there. And they just ask why we use those, and it's to inform best practice and approaches. And then these are the folks that this position will mainly interact with: the Early Learning Council as assigned, OTELA management team regularly, ELD staff regularly, and other interagency staff regularly. And then, yeah, that's basically, the last two are just typical decisions. So it's really just planning and coordinating OTELA management team meetings and prioritizing with the OTELA management team, like the workload and urgency of items discussed in those meetings. So what do you guys want to bring up first, and what do you really want to focus on and get done? And then some oversight activities for the position will include like the requirements from RHR, or like our performance quarterly check-ins. And then I'm hoping to implement weekly reflective practice consultation because I feel like it's such a need, even at the administrative level, of how we all operate as Native people. And I mean, hopefully we'll get a Native person into this role too, but we're operating in a system as well at the government, right? Yeah, it's a racialized system. So we should be giving our staff those reflective practice consultation check-ins to make sure that they feel supported and they feel empowered as staff of color. And that's it. So it's a lot, but I do want to hear from you. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to send this all to you. And I went over time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so Valeria, next steps on this is just gonna share it out and see if there's any additional feedback.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you have something you want to just share real quick right now, please feel like you can come off mute too. But I know that I did go over time. Sorry.
Appreciate the work you've done on it. Job
Thank you.
descriptions are a pain to put together. So,
Okay. I do see, I just want to check in because I think we lost maybe quorum. Yeah.
Let's see. Who did we lose?
I think we lost Christina.
And Michael.
And Michael.
Yeah, Michael had to leave for a council meeting. I can check in with her if folks are okay too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we still have quorum.
Okay.
What do
Sorry.
you think, Sandy?
I'm counting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still good. Barely. Don't anybody fade off, but yeah, we're still good.
Okay, Valeria, do you want to move into the next, to the Delk updates and just, I think the first bullet we wanted to talk about under the Delk general updates was the Raise Up Oregon 2.0 survey.
Yes. Yeah, let me do that. Let me just actually though, if we have quorum, do people feel like they want to approve the position description of what I shared right now? Or do you want to get an email and say approve or no approve? But that's a lot. So I think if we have quorum, like, let's just put it out there.
I agree.
Me too. This is Angie. Oh wait, I don't know if I can make a motion or not, so I'll just let you guys take that over.
Usually, Valerie would call the vote. I guess Sandy.
But
Well, my boss walks in and he's Action Jackson and you just got to shut him down. I'd like to call for a vote on that particular motion. Have a good evening. Oh, yes, sorry. He is my boss. I do have to pay attention to him, right? I can't just ignore him. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. So we need to call for a vote on whether or not we accept the job description as it's been submitted. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right.
Okay. We had a
Yeah.
motion from the floor for that? Or are we that formally rules of Robert's orders? No, we just vote.
Yeah, I think we've just been voting.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so all in favor, if you want to just signify by raising your hand.
Sonia, yes. Melissa, yes. Angie was a yes.
Yes. Yeah, Alyssa and
thank you.
thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much.
Sandy, you're a yes vote?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I am a yes.
Okay. And
So
then,
we'll go into the Raise Up Oregon 2.0. Alyssa, do you want to just mention anything? I know you're back, so.
Yeah, sorry, my computer is not cooperating on my phone. So wanted to just follow up. I know we sent around first a Jamboard and then followed up with a Google form survey. And I think Valeria's gonna drop it back in the chat. But really just wanted to make sure that folks had a chance to kind of dig into Raise Up Oregon and offer feedback. And Angie, not to put you too much on the spot, but I was wondering if you wanted to share a little bit about what the council kind of reviewed this morning and sort of what your next steps are as you're heading into 2023.
I did just a little bit of that already when you were out, just
Perfect.
a little. But just to reiterate the updating of Raise Up Oregon, which has 3 goals. The goals have been wordsmith a little bit. The previous plan just didn't explicitly call out goals related to tribal affairs. And so the council is really hoping to make sure that's embedded in the plan. And so which they're not even calling a draft. It's just kind of this is a mishmash of everything so far. And then we're going to have community input meetings. We could ask for a meeting with TAC, but like we said earlier, who wants another meeting or work group, right? If people want to provide some feedback or input through the survey, I would be happy to visit with anybody if they wanted to actually meet and talk about this. But the survey is a great opportunity, absent a meeting, where individuals can provide some feedback on this is what the state should really be looking at as a priority for the early learning system as it relates to tribes. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you take a minute to, pull up the survey and just provide some feedback. But if you want to know a little bit more about it, I'm happy to talk with people.
Thanks, Angie. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's, a lot of opportunity and time, but I want to make sure that, to Angie's point, if you would like Remy or Sue to join a future meeting, we also have our consultants from Build, Carrie McCann and Harriet Dichter, that have been doing a lot of deep work directly with ELC. We could ask them to join, whatever would be useful, since we've not meaningfully engaged you all in this work historically. Want to make sure you feel like you've got the information you need to be able to weigh in and really direct how you want tribes to show up in terms of the early learning system, and how you want tribal families and communities to really be represented, and what kind of particular supports or strategies do you want to make sure are explicitly named, because you don't see any call out of tribal nations, of tribal communities, of tribal children and families. So this is really an opportunity to make sure that we're intentional about that going forward.
So I know you, both Angie and Alyssa have said that we're not specifically called out. Were our programs at least engaged or notified or asked to give feedback on? Because I don't work with our early Head Start. Deanne Brown is our director. But were programs solicited to give feedback, or how does that work, so that I know from my tribe if I need to be that liaison to have them respond?
Yeah.
Programs have been invited to provide feedback, but only if they're one of the state grantees. I don't know if your programs if you have any of the state grants. So no, they haven't. That's what this is right now, is reaching out through Otella to get that feedback from tribes. But you can definitely take that link and send it off to your programs and have them complete the survey instead of you. That would totally be fine.
I think that's what I'll do. I think that because they will know what their needs are, and I just don't know if they know how the state funding could work alongside our tribal, because I don't believe that we're getting any state funding towards that. So I will send that over.
Great.
Thank you, Sonia.
And if there's other places where we can share this, or any background or documentation you all need to be able to share this, please let us know. There's been lots of one-pagers and different materials created for the Early Learning Council, so we can definitely make sure you all have what you need to carry this work forward.
Anything else on that, Alyssa? Or should we transition into the?
That's it.
Okay. I will share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see.
Yep, we can see.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit. So one of the, I just want to kick off the discussion around the Otella logo design. and also the color themes and fonts. And we'll also talk a little bit about the website requirements. The slide I'm sharing now is just a high level overview of the approach we're taking. So we're kind of in step one here. After I show the slide, I'm gonna share with you guys links to a couple of surveys that we can do just to kind of get the ball rolling on collecting feedback from you on what the logo design could look like, and also start to narrow down or select some potential color themes and fonts. So that's what we're going to kick off today, the step one. And so after that initial information gathering, we'll move over into step two, probably in January, where we'll actually come up with some different concepts of the logo itself. And at that point, there will be another opportunity for the TAC to provide feedback and continue to refine and continue to iterate on the logo, the colors, and the fonts as well, if needed. I expect the iterative design process to be more around the logo. I'm sure the colors and fonts, we could kind of get to those a little quicker, but and then after that, once we're kind of narrowed down the selection more, we'll finally get to step three, which is just the actual concepts of the logo itself, the final concept, and then the final colors and themes. So just to reiterate, today we're kind of kicking off the discussion, so we're kind of in step one here. Let me see.
Thank you, Jonas.
And then, so let me jump over to the surveys here. So this first survey, it's called the Logo Design Survey. Let me grab the link. And hopefully,
I can post the link for you, Jonas, too.
okay. Go ahead and post it, Valeria. And then, so I guess the ask is right now, is if you guys could try to go in and respond to the survey now. We thought it'd be easier just to set aside this time to give you the opportunity to respond now rather than wait. But we'll also send these out after the call, so people who aren't on the call have the opportunity to respond. But they're very short surveys, and they kind of just give us an idea, a starting position on the logo design.
I can't go in and take the survey and stay connected to the meeting. So,
Okay.
but we do like short and sweet. We like that.
Yeah. Is everybody else had that same issue, or are they able to respond? But you can see some of the questions. It's all fairly straightforward. Would you like your logo to be friendly or corporate? With the symbology centered around children or adults? Would you like it to be modern or classic? And then we also have some short text responses where you can provide kind of broader feedback on what you're looking for as far as what you want to see in the logo. Any specific shapes or symbols, animals, anything we should not consider, any restrictions we should consider, so not to incorporate. One of the questions I thought was a good one just to call out on this call is, we're wondering if part of the logo design, you don't have to respond to me, but just you could respond in the survey, is if we should incorporate 9 of something to kind of represent each of the 9 tribes. So I just put in the example 9 triangles, could be 9 of anything, but we're just wondering if we wanted, like, within the logo itself, represent all 9 tribes. Should we incorporate the name of the entity? That one, some of these might be like obvious, yes, but we just wanted to make sure we ask those questions. A lot of the other logo designs we looked at from the other entities or organizations, they usually incorporate the name. And we'll also probably produce concepts with and without certain aspects of these questions. So you'll see a variety of concepts. Okay, I'll give you guys a couple more minutes to finish the responses to this. And then I'll go into the second survey. The second survey is a lot shorter and it's a lot more straightforward. It would only take you probably a minute or two to respond to it. Was everybody able to, well, I know Sandy, you weren't, but
Yeah.
was everybody else able to view and open the survey?
Let us know if there is any issues.
Yeah, I'm just curious about access.
Good.
Okay. You can still see my screen, right, Valeria?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll just do a really quick explanation of the second survey, and I think Valeria already put the link in the chat. This one is around color themes and fonts. So what we did was provide 5 color theme options here. And we initially had a longer list, but we kind of narrowed them down with the team just to the ones that we thought that we liked and that we thought you guys would like as well. One thing to call out on this is option 1 for both the color theme and the fonts is the Delk color theme and font. So if you guys wanted to continue with that same theme, we gave you that option here. In responding to the question itself, basically how this works is the question requires you to respond to each row, and then also you could only select one for each column. You can only have one radio button selected. So you can't like rank option 1 and option 2 as your first choice. You have to basically spread them out across the 5 choices.
So it's causing you to have to be decisive.
And
and say, I really like this one. This is my favorite.
right. And I just want to reiterate again, like this isn't the end all be all, like whatever we select here, we of course are going to bring that back to you, and this is show you the results of the surveys and say this is what we selected. And then if at that point the TAC decides they still want to change it or they're thinking of something else, of course we'll take that feedback as well. But we thought this would be a good starting spot. Okay, we'll give a couple more minutes, Valeria, and then I could I'll jump into the website requirements. Okay, I think I'll do it in the interest of time. I'll transition over to the website requirements. Okay. So what we've been doing, I'm sharing an Excel spreadsheet here now, is kind of going through the existing early learning hub websites that are out there and started documenting the requirements based on those websites, and also taking into account the OTELA requirements that were listed in the organizational document and kind of mapping those to the requirements that are documented here. A lot of them are pretty straightforward if you've gone out to any of those sites before. So you'll have like a home page that kind of explains of the organization and maybe have some photos and some images, and links to like a navigation to some of the other pages. A lot of these sites have a calendar page, and that was also one of the requirements that you guys provided in an organization document. It's just a calendar page that shows the meeting information, dates, agendas, etc. I've documented a contact us page, which would allow people to reach out to the organization or to the entity. And I mapped this to the barrier process because one of the requirements you guys listed was a gateway to the barrier process. And I thought this might be that gateway for people to reach out if they have a barrier that they want to address. But that's something you guys kind of take a look at and provide feedback on if that's kind of what you envisioned as that gateway to the barrier process. A lot of the sites have an about us page. So this is where they'd have some more description about the entity itself and also photos of all you lovely folks and your titles. And then the resources page. So this is an important page because to me it mapped to a lot of the requirements that you guys listed in the organization document. You know, link a lot of these resource pages link out to a lot of other important either documents. So maybe the FAQ, contact information for the tribes, links back to the DELC website, notice of funding opportunities, things like that. So we imagined a resources page would definitely be part of the requirements. The news page as well. We've seen those in some of the websites where it just links to maybe articles or maybe there's announcements that you'd like to post. One thing to note on this, so over here I have a drop down, and you guys could go ahead if you want, as you're providing feedback, you could either provide feedback over email or even add notes in this notes column, or even in this drop down, you could switch the option. So there's a must have, nice to have, which is something that you either we can add if we wanted to, like if there's enough budget, and then not required is something like you guys don't think that's needed. I also have links to examples from the other Early Learning Hub websites, since that's where we kind of looked for most of these requirements. And then after that, once we get to like requirements 7 through 11, this is all kind of standard website stuff. Browser compatibility, so it's going to work on multiple browsers and also should work on your mobile device. An error page when the website is under construction, it's going to have a website name and it's going to be hosted somewhere. Multi-language support, and then also meet Oregon accessibility standards. So a lot of these from 1 to 11 are kind of what I envisioned as must-have based on the requirements you have and also other websites. But then after that, I think this is from 12 on. I listed some examples here of some other requirements that we could may or may not include based on whatever you guys want. So this one is maybe you guys want to have a member sign up section where people can go sign up on your website to become members, and that way maybe they'll get notifications or newsletters or things like that. And it also allow for a data collection if you want to collect information on users or people who are the members of your website. Or like the privacy policy page is just an add-on of, if we're collecting data, you have to have the privacy policy page. But those are things that weren't necessarily documented in the organization document, but they're things to maybe consider. And then other than that, it's kind of open-ended. I wanted to get the TAC feedback. Not right now, of course, because we don't have the time, but we will post this document and then send it out to you so you can review it and kind of get your point of view on what you want to see for as far as website requirements. To wrap up the website requirements, I think Valeria, you wanted to add something to that, right? About the vendor selection for website.
Yes, thank you. I just want to plug really quick that we have identified, I would say like 2 expedited pathways to get us to a contract. We know some of our funds are expiring, right? But we did get a no cost extension for our PDG dollars, which is really great. And we have until June 30th, obviously 2023, for our general fund dollars. So I wanted to get some, just a quick plug to say that our 2 expedited options are that if we have somebody in mind that we're like, we want to work with them to design this website for us, we can do that certainly. The second option is similar. It's just you have to go through a small, simple quotes process. And that would be if we were like deciding between 2 or 3 vendors that we just couldn't decide between, right? So we'd get a quote from them to see like what they could actually do for us, and maybe where we could get our biggest bang for our buck in terms of the contract itself. And so I wanted to just plug this with you all to let you know that we're looking for any suggestions from you all, or your tribal nations. If you've worked with somebody in the past that's done website work or website design work that you really liked or you think can do this work for Otella, please let me know. Please reach out and share contact information if you have it, and we'll keep looking to see what we want to do. But the question really is, both of them are quicker processes. So I think that we're good if we have 3 folks, and we're good if we have 1 that we're just like, yeah, we want to work with them. So I'm just plugging it here, and we'll revisit at our next meeting as well, just to make sure that we keep you in the loop and stuff.
Okay, we have probably less than 1 minute. Valeria, is there anything you wanted to, I know we had 3 more bullets left on our updates. Is there anyone that you want to prioritize?
Yeah, sorry about the run on time, folks. Yes, I want to just, the looking forward to 2023 is simply we can move it to next meeting. That was actually just to note that we are only scheduled out until June of next year. So we want to make sure that we hold calendar dates for the remainder of 2023 going forward. And then I want to let you know that so we'll move it to next time, sorry. And then fielding tribal requests, we will also move that to next time because that's going to require a little bit more of a talk. And then the work that needs to be done, that was really the website design contract that I just talked about. And then the second thing was, I just wanted you all to know that we just today submitted like a status request from the DOJ to make sure that they're done, or hopefully done, with our review for the agreement. So you guys should be seeing hard on it. And we do know that we mentioned we'd get them out to you sooner, and we're working hard on it, and we'll get those to you as soon as we can. And that's all I wanted to mention, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot the work that needed to be done. I was just going to share this quick slide and kind of show what's in progress and what's done. And we know we're getting close on the IGAs. The position description that's getting completed now. The surveys are on their way, so that's good. And then we still have some things to do, and I'm sure there's stuff to add to this to-do list, but the backbone entity, and then start getting the metric survey out, and start talking about how we're going to consolidate that and report and finalize the logo design down the road after we get some concepts. So, okay. I'll stop.
Back to you, Sandy. Thanks everyone for all that talking at you today. It's a lot of information.
Sorry, I was muted. At one point in time, we decided to cut these meetings down to an hour and a half. And I'm hoping that, we don't ever seem to get everything done. So, but we're also doing a lot of stuff. So I'm not ready to open up the discussion to extending them back to 2 hours, but certainly that's something that probably should be kicked around the block a couple times as we get this stuff done. So that's all I have. Sonia, you want to take us home? Take us home with something special for the holidays, right?
Well, I just wanted to add one thing to Sandy's, that maybe if there is a meeting that there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done that would extend beyond the hour and a half, that maybe we could save like a 2-hour block, because it may necessitate like us needing to act on. And if it is just updates, then we could go with the hour and a half. But I would, because again, we want to get through this work, and I know that time is valuable for everyone, but we also need to get the work done and not wait an additional month to be able to meet. So if it's something where ELD thinks that a meeting may take longer, you could let us know beforehand and we could block out the 2 hours.
That's a great suggestion.
And so I'm just gonna say a prayer for us and our communities, so everyone can pray in their own way. But dear Lord, I just want to thank you for this time coming together for our children and our communities to heal. And I know that we've been touched and affected by so much illness in our communities in the last several years. And I just ask your grace for healing and care as we move forward. We're resilient people, and we're doing this work for our future. And in this holiday season, we want to place you at the center of the work that as we celebrate these holidays. And I ask this all in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Want to
Have a great
say
holiday
something?
season. We'll see you.
Good to see
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Bye.
Right, see you in the
Happy
meeting somewhere.
holidays.
Yes.
I'm